Good morning. A lively start to this lovely spring day. A few clouds out there. Bring us into the spirit of worship with words from Richard Gilbert, retired Unitarian Universalist minister, the community of all souls. We belong to the great community of all souls, a long procession of humanity stretching back into time beyond our comprehension, sharing life with us in this time and space, scattered around the globe in all our diversity, poised to enter a future we cannot yet imagine. We stand proudly in the company of saints and seers, prophets and poets of the human spirit who have found life more than mere existence. We are privileged to be part of a race of creatures who have marveled at the miracle of birth, who have found meaning in the midst of life, and who stand humbly before the mystery of death. In this hour of reflection, we pledge ourselves anew to our place in this great cloud of witnesses who commit our energies to the beloved community of which we are members, one of another. We are servants of life and wish to be counted among those who will work for justice, love, and compassion in this blessed community of all souls.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola. I'm really happy to see you all here today. For the chalice words today by Betts Weinecke. May this flame, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us. Please stand as you're able to sing hymn number 295, Sing Out Praises for Journey, and Bobby will play through this song one time so that we can get familiar with it. Please remain standing as we say our covenant. Is the spirit of this church and service its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
I thought. I thought, oh, it's Cinco de Mayo, yeah. Nobody took me up on my invitation to salsa with me. I don't know. It's hard to sit still for that. Wow. It's hard to think that this poem fits now, but but I thought about all the people that worked so hard on the yard sale, and then it's May, as we're hearing about all of the graduations, and it's sort of a season in the church year. I know that my school teacher friends are so ready for the last day of school. Those of you who have taught or are teaching can relate to that, I'm sure. And there are some folks who work really hard all year in this church who might get a little bit of a break over the summer. It's a time when our rhythm changes. Although I'm not sure what happens here. Do people who live at the beach go to the mountains now, or what? So I don't know how many of you know Rick Maston or knew Rick Maston, but maybe some of you knew him. He was a delightful man who actually came to the Birmingham church to do, he wrote Let It Be a Dance, a song in our hymnal, and when it was first written, he came to the church where I was a youth in Birmingham and did that song and did some other things, and he totally captured my heart. And this is one of his poems called Burnout. Burnout. You've seen the results in the shop on the shelf, row after row of gray, empty faces with nothing happening in the glassy eyes except a little surface reflection. Burnout. You know the symptoms, a history of dependable service, then suddenly, for no reason, things go dark, and you're a dead piece of furniture waiting to be removed from the living room. Burnout. The psychological repairman said, and shrugged his shoulders and shook his head, having checked everything except the cord, which of course was disconnected. In a word, unplugged. And to think I nearly went to the dump myself because someone less than a poet trying to describe a condition came up with a misleading term. Clearly, a case of burnout demands a second opinion. And this is mine. Find an outlet. And if the cord doesn't reach, move the set. So when you are thinking about how you want to serve and do next year, think about where to plug in that will charge your battery. And this next song is just about that. So I invite you to rise as your body or spirit allow as we sing hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire.
Words
Though I may speak with bravest fire, and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain, like sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given by love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control. Our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed. These words are a lovely, poetic interpretation of the words from Paul's letter to the Corinthians. Couples I marry frequently choose these words for their wedding, the words from the Bible, not the song. Yet the original and more profound understanding of that message is not for a couple, but for a community. He was speaking to the church at Corinth. Perhaps these words have endured because the need for community in our lives is so strong. We learned long ago from Maslow's hierarchy of needs that right after our basic needs for food and water and safety is our need to belong. In a recent report from the Pew Research, which is where I go when I'm curious, I read that the search for community is fairly high, not the top, but fairly high on the middle, a little above the middle, on the list of reasons people seek a church. That probably doesn't surprise you. We probably thought maybe that was the highest reason. And then I read a little bit further, and I was surprised. You might think seeking community was about meeting people with whom to socialize. It turns out, however, that meeting new people and socializing was the very last on the list of reasons people go to church. So people want to be part of a community, actually a faith community, even though they are not necessarily seeking new friends or people with whom to socialize. Among the top 4 reasons people attend church is so their children will have a moral foundation, to make them a better person, and for comfort in times of trouble or sorrow. And the number 1 reason I'm going to translate into language that Unitarian Universalists might absorb better. It's to feel closer to something greater than themselves, or to feel the deep connection we have toward one another and with the universe. We've been hearing for a while about the people who describe themselves as spiritual but not religious, often called nuns, N-O-N-E-S, because they claim to have no particular religious affiliation, and on the list of, what your religion is, they mark none. Spiritual but not religious, however, indicates that they have a sense of connection to something beyond themselves. Frequently, these folks express that they find God in nature. And some well-known contemporary theologians are writing about that as if it's a new idea, a revolutionary twist on religion. I'm guessing they don't know about our transcendentalists and our Unitarian and Universalist history. And one of those people really is a fine theologian and author, Diana Butler Bass, considered a preeminent scholar on religion, politics, and culture. She caught a lot of people's attention a while back, including Unitarian Universalists, with her book, Christianity After Religion: The End of Church and the Birth of a New Spiritual Awakening. In this book, she looks at the change in the religious climate of America and the culture of the nuns. So we're aware the statistics show a drop in the number of people who claim to be Christian, as well as those who are attending churches, synagogues, or mosques. And while large numbers of people are staying away from traditional places of religion, they are not rejecting a life of spiritual values or spirituality. In fact, I've even read articles by some proposing that atheists can be more spiritual or more religious, they say, more religious than Christians. Apparently, studies are showing that those who claim to be atheist or agnostic or who have lost faith in supernatural deities still crave community. Exactly. They enjoy singing with others, and they want to think deeply about morality. Among the 27% of Americans who call themselves spiritual but not religious, there are many who pray regularly and believe in God. What researchers are realizing now is that they have to find new questions to determine what people mean when they say they believe in God or that they are religious or that they are not religious. In her article in The Atlantic, former associate editor that covers religion and global affairs, Sigal Samuel, wrote, "As religiosity takes on forms that scramble our old understanding of that term, it's forcing researchers to ask themselves anew what we talk about when we talk about religion." Well, does that sound like a new conversation to anybody here? UUs have been doing that conversation for decades. The growing number of people who intentionally distance themselves from organized religion has become a source of interest and study because it reflects a huge change in American culture. I mean, I know when I was young, everybody went to church. For some, it's a frightening trend. Diana Butler Bass tells a tragic story about a businessman who had not attended church in more than 20 years since his infant child had died. At the funeral, he told her, "The pastor said our baby died because we didn't pray enough. It was our fault," he said, "and that our lack of faith killed our son." "Well, I walked out of church that day," he said, "and I have never returned." It's easy to see how talk like this would drive people away from religion in droves. And in my years as a minister, I've heard my share of horror stories like that one, of people who left church. And I'm sure that some of you have heard those stories or have experienced similar. People abused or abandoned by their community of faith frequently find their way into our congregations. They may bring a contempt for religion along with them, as well as their need for spiritual or faith community. There also exists a new generation of young adults who have grown up with no religious affiliation, no history of religious abuse, just a desire to steer clear of the organizations that they see as promoting bigotry, narrow-mindedness, racism, and homophobia. It's not just anger, though, that Bass hears expressed when people talk about religion. Many people, she says, are just bored. They are bored with church as usual, church as club, church as entertainment, or church as work. I thought I might get an amen there. I heard a few groans. Many of my friends, she continues, are dropping out because religion is dull. The purview of folks who never want to change or always want to fight about someone else's sex life. One of the years when I was studying and traveling with that interfaith group, we went to Portland and to Seattle to study the emergent church movement. I met and talked and worshiped with intelligent, creative young adults who were exploring new and really relevant ways to engage their spirituality and their practice of social justice in their communities. Most of them claimed to have lost faith in their parents' church, but not in the message of love that Jesus taught. What I found in each of these groups as we visited were people who wanted to be part of a spiritual community of meaning and purpose, one that encouraged and supported them in being the person they wanted to be, the person who could live out their most deeply held values in the world. In our own Unitarian Universalist way, I see us working to create that kind of community. And I think there are a lot of people out there that need to find us. We are open to the diversity of beliefs reflected in the wider community while still holding to values and principles that honor our unique heritage. People who come here are looking for the same things that people look for in any church: a place that will help their children develop a moral foundation, a place that will help them become a better person, a place that will comfort them in times of trouble and sorrow. And the number one reason, if you give it some thought, will very likely be a desire to feel somehow connected to something beyond yourself. And the way those connections happen is by joining together to learn, to sing, to think deeply about what matters, and to act in the world according to our most deeply held values, and to celebrate life. That's what we come here to do on Sunday mornings. It's called a celebration of life, and to offer and receive comfort in hard times. Oh, and we can't be boring. It's already May, as we've heard. We're seeing all the graduations and getting Facebook posts of happy families. Although it's technically still spring, it's beginning to feel a lot like summer to me, at least some days. It was summer, August, when I came here last year, so we've now gone through all 4 seasons together. There are seasons in a year, and there are also seasons in our lives. Churches have seasons also, all institutions do. In a lifetime, we go through different seasons a number of times, and not always in the same order. Looking at our whole life as one time around the wheel, poets tend to write about beginning in spring and closing out in the winter. We have years of new life and rapid growth, years that are full of change and adventure, years of taking stock and harvesting wisdom, years of rest and reflection, and sometimes we might be inclined toward hibernation. Churches have seasons, kind of like people, and the wheel of the church, we hope, will continue generation after generation. Every winter needs to be followed by spring, or a church might go into a hibernation, which might be good for bears, but not for churches or congregations. The spirit or energy of spring is often channeled into freshening up or revitalizing, sorting through things and taking inventory. Apparently, a lot of people did that to bring their stuff to the garage sale. And I think this would describe what your elected leaders have been doing recently, taking stock and looking ahead. Today, this congregation as a whole will consider the shared wisdom of your leaders as they emerge from a season of reflection, looking forward to revitalization and renewal of commitment, perhaps a new outlet in the same living room. We are in the middle of a story, of an awakening, of a shift in history. How will we respond? Are we open to the hunger that exists for a spiritual life that is counter to the frantic, shallow culture that surrounds us? Are we up to the challenge of creating and maintaining the holy ground from which our work is done, from which it springs forth? Will the Spirit move you to be generous with your time, talent, and treasure? To trust that you are contributing to something greater than yourself that will live beyond you. The promise that the future will carry your values and principles. That people will continue to know a spiritual death that is non-judgmental, is hopeful, life-giving, and life-affirming. That there will be a place for people to find their footing and be grounded in a system of values that opens them to the beauty of individual difference, to the source of love that does not degrade, a ground of hope, a holy place. I believe so. Only you can say.